Okay, so I see that it's 5 past, so I think we can start. Thanks again for joining this course. What we will talk today is about, well, we will learn about Python. That is a programming language that is nowadays quite used and famous. Is used for, well, we will see. The title of the course is Plotting and Programming with Python, but the course is not everything related to plotting. We will learn from scratch how to write a script in Python and how to use Python for our research or for the tasks that we want to perform. What I will do is, okay, thanks for answering the poll. I see that most of you have a Python or well, have a Jupyter Lab installed. I see that one person doesn't have it installed, but we can help you with the installation. Or if you have Python, I think you can still follow the lesson. Jupyter Lab is an ID that we will use to write Python in a, or well, to learn Python in an easier way. Okay, so I will stop the poll, and also what I will do is I will share the page. So you will see in the chat the course page, and what I will do now is I will share my screen. Well, I didn't. My video is switch off, but also, well, I will try to switch it on. Okay, so I think that now you can see me. So this is me. I have it switch off in order to save broadband and make the class faster. But yeah, this is me today working from home. Okay, so next step is I will share my screen here. Takes a moment to share the. So I think you can see my screen okay. If not, let me know. Also, I forgot to say, if you have any questions, there are two ways of asking them. You can write them in the chat, and either me or my colleague Michael that will help us reading the course will answer that. Also, another possibility is you can raise your hand. That you will find like a person with a hand raised at the bottom of your screen, so you can click there, and I receive a notification, and you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Another thing, this course is recorded. This is mainly for you, for if you want to review the content later, or what we have discussed today. You will have it available for you, that recording. And well, this is the okay. This is the ARCHER2 website, and here is the information about the course, about what we will cover. Also, well, this is important that this course abide by the ARCHER2 code of conduct. That here is the whole code, but well, the summary of the important part is here. that in this course we use welcoming and inclusive language. We are respectful of different viewpoints and experiences. We gratefully accept constructive criticism, and we show courtesy and respect towards others. So in a nutshell, be nice each other. So yeah, I'm sure that you will follow this code. Well, here is in full, and the link is here in this in the website that I shared the link before. Chain table. Sorry, this is not published here. I added the chain table in the course chat. So here we have two links. We have the course materials. That this is the lesson that I will follow. And also we have the course chat. So in the course chat, we have the timetable for today. So we will have 3 breaks. We have a 15-minute break at 11:30. We have an hour break for lunch. And also we have 15 minutes for the afternoon break at 3:30. Okay, so let's start with the course. So I will, okay, for the setup, well, here this is explain how to install Python using Anaconda, but most of you have already done that. And also we need to download that. I will copy the link here in the chat. We need to download that link because we will use these files for the course. So to use, as I said, Python is a programming language that could be used in different ways. And you can use, there is a way that is, you can use, you can write your code in a text file and execute that text file. We will see how to do that. And also another way is to use, if we are creating the scripts in our computer, in our laptop, we can use Jupyter Notebook. I mean, Jupyter Notebook was widely used until now, until very recent, but Jupyter Lab is like a improvement, like improved version of this, and this is what we will see and use during the course. Said here that it has several advantages. The advantages are that, for instance, for learning, this works like more if you have used MATLAB, Mathematica, or these kind of programs. You write a sentence, and then you get the output of instantly. This is different that when you write the sentence, or well, when you write the script in a file, and if you execute it with a Python command, it is different. So what I will do is I will start Jupyter Lab. Well, here is explaining how to start it, depending if you are using Mac OS, Windows, or also it's different if you use Ubuntu. So what I will do is I will start mine. So if I click on the Windows menu, if I type Anaconda, I will open Anaconda Navigator. So taking some time. Well, you see, because I have two screens, This is like starting in the other screen that is not a share, but they will move the window once that this is open. It's taking its time to, okay, so now it's open. Let me see if I, okay, so you see here, if when you open an account navigator, you see that you have different applications here. So the one that we will use is Jupyter Lab. That is the one that is here. So if when we click in launch, this Jupyter Lab will open, as you see, will open here in the browser. It's recommended to use Google Chrome. Well, here it is because I was yesterday playing with some. So you will, when you open Jupyter Lab, you will find something like this. I'm not sure if everyone is the same. If you can let me know in the chat if everyone has open Jupyter Lab or if you have any issues with opening Jupyter Lab. So you can type yes or yeah. Good. I see that there is a, well, yeah, that means, okay. Great. So here we have a different, well, you see that this is like a kind of a soft, like an application, because you can find here on top, you have a menu that you can do like a file that is like open files, edit, view, run. So you may find that you need to use this menu later. Also here we have the, well, because yesterday I was playing around with the Jupyter Lab, you can have here several files. Here I'm in my desktop folder, and also you see that I have a folder called data. That this is the data that I will use later. So keep mind there. So here we have like a file browser, and also we have a desktop that we can open a notebook, and also we can open a, well, terminal, text file, Python file, etc. So first I will explain how to create a, let's say, our first program using a text editor. So rather than using a notebook. Why I'm explaining that? Because, for instance, if in the future you use ARCHER2 or you use any other machine, any other supercomputer, it's way easier in that case to write your script in a file and execute it. Notebooks are very good and we will see that are very interesting, but are mainly when you use them in local. It is also possible to use notebooks on ARCHER2, but makes things more difficult. Or, for instance, ARCHER2 is not aimed for Jupyter notebooks. You can execute a lot of Python scripts, but normally you execute them kind of it's called offline. You don't interact with them most of the times. So okay, so the example is what I will do is I will create a new Python file. So you have here a text editor where you can write whatever you want. And also what I will do is I will, well, let's write our first Python program. If you have seen other programming languages before, you know that it's quite common to use Hello World as a first program in a language. So in this case, we will follow that idea. So I will start writing a comment. A comment is start with hash, and I can write the sentence that I want. So I will write this is my first Python program. And later, what I will do is I will print a sentence. I will use a function that is called print, and say the square bracket. I will write my sentence that I want to print. That is hello world. So once that I have done that, what I can do is I can save my Python code. So the idea is what I will do is a file, save a Python file as, and here I can type the name. So what I will do is I will write hello world, and I will save that file. So here we have our first Python program, but we want to execute it. We want to see if that works. So what we will do is I will click here in, I think is that the new, yeah, so this should work, new. You have here a new tab. So in this new tab, I will click on terminal. And now we have a terminal. You see that now I have two tabs, but Jupyter Lab, one of the things that has is that we can arrange. We can, for instance, place the tab on the right. So we have here the script and here the terminal. Also, we can place the terminal like here, or I mean, we can have a different tabs open, and we can see the tabs the same time. So because of the software, the script is in the desktop folder, as you can see here. I need to move to my desktop folder. So what I will do is cd desktop, and you see that in the command prompt, the prompt change. So you see that rather than in C users my username, it says C users my username desktop. So if I do ls, you will see the files that I have there, that I have like a few of them. But I want to execute hello world. So to execute that, what I do is I type Python. Sorry that in the screen appears with yellow, that yellow with the white background is not very readable, but yeah, sorry, I should have changed that. Python, and then the name of my script, hello or dot py, that is like the extension for Python scripts. So if I execute that, you see in the command line, like the output that I have is hello world. If we want to modify something, we need to edit this file. for instance, hello world, my name is Juan. And we can save the file with Control S or using the menu file save Python file. And if we execute the script again, what I have done is like press the up key and you get the last command that you have used. You see that the program has changed. Hello world, my name is Juan. See that there are several questions in the chat. The first one is how did you get the two terminals one above the other? Is when you open these two tabs at the beginning are like this, but what I want to do is have them to see them at the same time. So what I do, for instance, with this terminal tab, I click and I drag to the, for instance, if we want to place them at the bottom, so I drag it at the bottom with my mouse. And you see that now you can see both tabs at the same time. And also there is another question regarding your files. Okay, we are using a browser to see the graphical interface, but if you see on the left of the screen, you have a bunch of, well, I guess I have a bunch of files. I guess that you will have less files. Here, this is in this case in my desktop. You can have it in another. Well, I would recommend you to, but for the course, we will use the desktop. But you can have another folder like my documents, my project, etc. So there you will have a bunch of files, and you can use them. When it's a bunch of files, you can have your Python script. You can have the folder that we will use that is data that contains some I think are CSV files. CSV files. I didn't say CSV files means comma separate values. So you will have we will see later when we open one the structure of it. So this is regarding this is one way of working with Python. For instance, this way is recommended when you use another machine, like say ARCHER2 or another machine. I mean, a remote machine, because you write your script, and normally when you use a remote machine, you will have something similar to this, so you can execute your Python script in the remote machine. When you use Python locally, or for instance, for learning or for do some testing, you want to use it like MATLAB, Mathematica, all of this kind of software. You can create a new, you can create a notebook. So what we will do is, again, here in this blue button, we click on launcher. We can add it. Well, we can close the terminal if we want. So we can close this file. And what I will do is I will open a notebook. So I click on here in Python 3 behind below a notebook, and I have something like this. Not sure if everyone is with a Python notebook open, and if you see the extension change, you see that the file is called well, because we haven't saved that, and title NB for notebook. And actually the file is a JSON file, but well, you don't. It's in case that you're curious about the format that this is saved. So what we will do before we have done like hello world using a Python script, so we can do the same with our Jupyter notebook. And this is the same. Here we can create a comment. This is my, I would say, second Python program. Enter, and I will print hello world. Also, you notice compared with other programming languages that you don't need to write, for instance, in C you need to write a semicolon to at the end of the line. Here you don't need to do so. You if you write each statement command in different lines, you don't need to use a semicolon. So to execute that, because if you click enter, this means a new line. To execute that, you need to press shift and enter. And you see that now, and here you get a number, and also you get the output here in that in this case is well, our sentence that is hello world. Another thing that is useful to know about these notebooks is like you can write, for instance, you can write a tutorial. If you search later search engine like Google or any other similar one, if you want to learn something else, you can find a Python notebook and a tutorial with some text. In order to introduce this text, you can use Markdown. That this is a new thing that is quite useful for if you use GitHub or even for websites. You can use Markdown, and it's a very easy way to give a format to the text. So here to write something in Markdown, what we can do is no, well, the way that is in the documentation, once that we are in this this entry, we can press M. No, I think we need to select here and press M. Oh, well, okay, here is easier to, if you see here this drop-down menu, you can select if what you are writing is a code. So you see that you have here like a square bracket. But let's say, okay, I want to write a Markdown. So you can select from here, from this drop-down menu. And to write something in Markdown, for instance, you can create a list. The list is you start the list with an asterisk, and then you write the first item. Yes, the idea of I see that there is a question in the chat that is what is the Markdown definition? Is a way to it's like here you can write some text. This is a list, first item, second item, etc. So when you execute with shift enter, you see that this is a text, but if you double click, you can give a format to that text. So for instance, if you use the star of asterisk, you can create a list. So now if I press Shift Enter, you see that you can give a format to that. Also, you can create headings. Imagine like you need to use the hash, and this is like a level 1 heading. So this is like a Python course. If you use a double hash, it's like a second level. First lesson, second lesson. So if I use a Shift Enter, you see that in a couple of seconds we have created some text with the format. And there are, this is just an example. There are many things that you can do. You can include links, give a format with italic, bold, etc. But this is just to show you that in Python notebooks you can also create, so you can add some documentation and you can give format using Markdown. Markdown is a way of writing plain text, because if you see this is plain text, there is nothing else, but you can give a format if you follow some if you add some special characters like hash, asterisk, etc. Is there any questions regarding that, regarding Markdown? There is an option. Okay, there is a question that is called row. I'm not sure about this option. Yeah, normally I use either code or Markdown. Row, I should check that, but yeah, that actually, yes, a good question. I haven't used it before. I've used, normally you can create a tutorial in Python notebook and you can send the tutorial to someone else. So normally what you use is Markdown to create to give some format to the, and then you create the code. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks, Claire. So there are three types of code that if when you execute it, you get an output. You have a Markdown that when you execute it, you have you see the rich text with the text with format, but also you have row that you can write code. But each row itself, I mean, it's not executed. So you can write Python code, you can write a Markdown, but when you execute the cell, you don't get anything, because each row is like the code itself. No, that makes sense. So if there are no more questions, I will continue. So we have seen how to execute code, And also we have seen how to do Markdown. So let's continue. Okay, this is a code. So let me code the cell. Let me see if I forget something. No. Okay. So let's move on. We will talk about variables and assignment. This is well, when we when we use a programming language, one of the basic things that we can use is we have some values, and we save these values in using variables. So we can have here. I can type the for instance age. That will be, this is the name of the variable, and also to assign a value to that variable, I need to use the equal symbol. And well, in the sample is okay, we write age 34. And another variable, for instance, I would like to write I would like to save my name. So what I do is I write the first name equal and my name, use Juan. You see that this is like a quotation marks, because we will see later that here we are saving, before we are saving a number that is a 34, but here we are saving a string. So when we save a string, we need to use these quotation marks. So if I press Shift Enter, these variables are saved. So what I can do is I can see if that's right or not. So I can print age, and also I can print the first name. And if I execute this now, I see that I print the number, well, the age 34, and also I print my name, Juan. Things regarding variables can only contain letters, digits, and underscore. The variables cannot start with a digit. I cannot say this could not be a variable because it starts with a digit, and also are case sensitive. If I print age, I type age in capital letters. If I execute that, I get an error. That's regarding errors. When you get an error, a piece of advice: don't panic. Don't say, "Oh, what is this? There is an error. What's happened?" If you see, one of the good things of Python is that the errors most of the times are quite clear, in terms that if you read the error message, you will find out what is where the problem is. So for instance, here you have in the code you have an arrow where tells you where the error is. So the error is in that line. Okay, here doesn't make much sense because our software or Python script is only one line. But imagine that you have a Python script with 100 lines, 1,000 lines. So that would be like more difficult to find out where the error is. Normally, is you have an arrow here that tells you the line of the error, and normal in the last sentence tells you the type of error, that is name error, that you say, okay, I don't know, name error, I'm not clear, but here is explained now, name age is not defined. Also, this is another thing of Python, that you need first to define the variables and then use them. You cannot use a variable without defining it first. We have seen that we can use print to show the variables, and also we can print these variables, but also we can print like strings that that we can include. We will see an example. If we use a print surrounding the brackets, you can write the first name. If you want to print several variables, you can use. You need to use the comma. So first name is well, here is the age, and then here is old. So if you execute that, you get that Juan is 34 years old. You see that you print, in this case, we have print four, well, the two variables that we have defined and two strings. And automatically print insert a space between elements. So we have print 4 elements, and you see that these 4 elements contains a space between the elements. And also automatically add an end of line that, for instance, not sure who is familiar with C, you needed to add, or in other programming languages, you need to add end of line. So, for instance, if I write again, if I execute again, print this the end of the script, you see that every time that you execute print, a new line. I mean, the text is or the output is printing a new line. Also, you can use print without anything else, without any arguments, and if you execute it, you get a new a blank line. And also, we have defined these variables. So the variables are available during the whole duration of the notebook. So if I want to print again the age, you will see that the variable, the contents of that variable still persist. What else? We will play now with the strings. So we can select, in case that we have a long string, we can select characters from that string. So okay, we will follow the sample that is in the documentation. So if I write atom name equal helium, and I want to print the first character. So what I do is I write the name of the variable, that is atom underscore name, and between square brackets I type the index of the I want the first letter. I type the index. So now question here, what should I type between square brackets to get the first element? 1 is correct, you can use the chat to type the answer. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I see that. You're familiar with the. There are, I think, in MATLAB, Fortran start with 1. I mean, consider that the first element is 1. But in programming languages like Python, C, etc., they use the first element is 0. So if I execute this, I get the element, the second one, I get E, but I want the first one. So the first one is 0. So I get H. So this is different with respect to other programming languages. I mean, the idea here of using 0 is like this is like the offset. So the first element, the offset is 0. So the first one, sorry, the second one is like plus 1. So a little bit like a different idea. Also, you can get the if you can get a slice rather than only one element. So to get a slice means in the same example, if I want the first 3 characters, I want the characters, the number 0, number 1, and number 2. So here I type 3. 3 is like the limit. It's give me the characters up to 3, but please not include 3, let's say. So if I execute that, I get HEL. So I get the characters 0, oops, 0, 1, and 2. Also, what is useful with there is a function that is called length. Length comes from, but it's like a short that you can get the length of the string. So in this case, we have 6 characters in this. The documentation said that this is very important because also one of the advantages, this is also why Python is like a quite useful, or it's getting like a quite famous, is because it's quite the source code is quite readable. But this is like a standard not only for Python, but well, standard like a best practice not only for Python, like for other languages. Please use useful names. Like if I want to save the, for instance, before I save the age, so name it age, no use a, because for instance, if you see the when you see a script from someone else and you want to understand what the script does, you see the variable that is called a, but you don't know what that means. So doesn't matter if you use age. So give variables needs like a useful names or names that you can understand. Okay, so I think this is now time for a small exercise. I will give you 11. I will give you until 11. So the exercise is here. So we have the exercise the 1A and 1B. So please play around with these exercises, and when you are done, please say so in the chat. So did you have the chance to have a look at the exercises? Do you want to solve them together? Cool. So okay, that's a good. That's why it's I added this exercise here. So let's start with the first one. What I will do is I will copy here this code. Okay, I need to jump to okay, here. So here I will paste the code. So we have this piece of software. We have two variables that are called initial and position. So let's go step by step. So the first one, initial, gets the value left. Then we have a new variable that is called position that gets the value that is in initial. So in initial, in that at that time, the value is left. But in the third line, initial, the value gets updated to right. In the fourth line, I print the variable called position. Position, you may think that it will print right, but what actually prints is left. Why? Because in position is save the value that has initial at the moment that this was assigned. So if later initial gets updated, this update doesn't reflect on the position. Don't know if that's clear or not. So when you do this assignment, you get a copy of the current value of initial. So it's not like you may think about other languages or like pointers that this doesn't mean that initial is a pointer of position. So that means it's like in position, the value that is copied at that moment is left. If then the value is updated, it's not reflected in position. Okay, so this is about this exercise. What about the rest? So what I can do is I can copy this. We can solve it in what I can do here. I can use comments. Otherwise, it will fail. And also, I need to define this. Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Okay, so this is our script. So we want to see the values of all of these. So also will this name will execute 0, 20, for instance. See what happens. So when we execute that, okay, doesn't show anything because we need to add a print. Do it quick. And now it's missing the. That should be okay. Let me execute this. Okay, so the first one is you get a slice, you get this part of the string. here, when you don't specify a value after the column, goes until the end. So the same when you don't specify a value at the beginning. So it starts from the beginning until 4. If you write just a column, prints everything. It's because you don't have a delimiter either before or after the column. And also, I haven't explained that when you use a negative number, you get the last element of. So an example here is if I print species name -1, I get the last -1 means the last element. So the last element is this one. -2, I get I. So it's so this is also a way of specifying using negative numbers. And in this case, when we specify like a bigger, prints everything. I mean, it doesn't fail when you choose a stop value like this, larger than this. So, is there any questions regarding this? In this example, we are using a string to get letters from this string, but also we can use this when we have a list. So to remember like this indexing is useful. Okay, if there is no questions, what I will do is I will advance a little bit more. So we have seen before that we have print. Well, we have defined age, we have defined name, but you need to remember that we have variables, but each variable has a type. How can we know what the type of the variable is? We need to use the function called type. So we will do print, and we will print the type of age. So if I execute that, you see that the output that the class is integer, integer. So this is one type that we can have. Other types, type first name. We have a class that is a class str string. Also, we can have a float that this is another type. So print type 3.40. You get the other class that is float. So these are the three most used or most important types that you can have. The type is also useful when you use some operations. Some operations are compatible with some time, or rather than compatible, defined for some types, but are not defined for others. So, for instance, if I want to execute 5 minus 3, I get a 2. So, for instance, this operation is defined for integers, but if I do hello minus hi, for instance, I get an error. In this case, I get a type error in this line and said unsupported operand type for minus str and so for str and str doesn't work. Also, another way of that this is a string because you can think, okay, if I'm using numbers, but these numbers are saved as strings rather than, well, to make these strings rather than integers. One thing that you can do is you can imagine that you have a variable that is a string. You can convert to an int if you use the function int. So for instance, if you do that, it will work. Okay, in this example is, let's say, not the most useful, but imagine that you have a number saved in a variable that is a string. So that could be of help. Okay, for strings is not defined the minus operator, but it's defined the plus and well, the addition and multiplication. How does it work? So, for instance, for strings, the addition means concatenation. So let's say full name is equal. I could use Juan plus Herrera. So if I execute that, I should have other print full name. You see that I concatenate these two names. In order to add a space, oops, I can do something like this, and I get my full name and a string. So this is for to concatenate. Also, you can do you can repeat the multiplication means to repeat something several times. So you can have sometimes you use this 20. You can have something like this when you want to like writing text horizontal bar to separate section or whatever. Can use like a hash key. We should use print. So this is what the multiplication does, like a print the same character, in this case 60 times. So again, we were talking before about the length that this works with when we have a string, tells you that you have 12 characters, but doesn't work with a number. So if you say age, they tells you that the object of type int has no is not the length variable is not defined. If you want to get the, let's say, the number of digits, you will need to convert to a string with the function str. So using this, you see that you have two digits. And also when this last thing that when you use you can mix integers and floats, and you can use them in the same operation. And Python will take the type that is most not the most generic, the type that saved all the information. For instance, if you use integer and float in the same operation, the result will be a float. That operation. Also, there's a useful comment in the chat that, for instance, if you want to create a list of 10 zeros, so you can execute this. If now you print list, you get a list of 10 zeros. And what I mentioned before, when we if we want to index the positions, we can use a list 0, for instance, or a list 1. And I get the, well, because in this case it's all zeros, I get the element. But anyway, we will see this later, how list works, how a list works. So, okay, let me check if I forget something regarding this. So we have some types and the importance of this. Next thing is functions that we have seen a lot of, well, we have seen some functions. We have seen the function that is called print, len, also to do the conversions, that is str, int, type. So all of them are functions. The functions can have arguments, like for instance, print. If you give an argument, print that argument. If you use print without arguments, doesn't print anything. Other functions that could be useful, well, are mentioned like the maximum, minimum. So if print, so there is a function called maximum that when you have a list of, you can give either a list of elements. And returns the maximum of the maximum value of the elements. Also, there is a function called round. Print this function when you have a number, let's say 3.40, summation of the pi number. You get the round, removes the decimal part. Regarding functions, for instance, in this case, removes all decimal places. But what if I want to keep one decimal place? So I need to pass an argument that in this case is optional. So I need to specify 1. So if I execute it again, you see that specifying that argument gives 3.1, gives one decimal place in the output. What else? How we can, for instance, round because I wanted to execute a round the first time and I get the 3 and I don't know how to specify that the output has an additional decimal place. So there is another function that is called help. If I use a help and write the name of the function, I get the help of that function. So it tells you that you have the first argument is a number, and also you have n digits that by default is a known. So round the number, but without any decimal places. If you want to use other other values that are not known, you need to specify that. So you need to use round 3.40 and gives the second argument. You may notice that the second argument is called n digits. That means that the arguments, okay, if you keep the order, you don't need to specify the name of the argument. But if you switch the order, or if you want to use another order, you need to specify it. The example is we print the output of a round, but first we will use n digits equal 1, number equal 3.1416. So if I execute that, I get, you see that the arguments are in different positions, but if you use arguments in different positions, you need to specify the name of the argument. So this is like a one feature of that is interesting to remember. Here you can find some, well, there is like a list of errors that you may find in Python that when we define a variable, a string, we may forget about what I normally do also if you use other editors, when for instance you write a bracket or you write a quotation mark, automatically add another quotation mark. What I do normally to avoid the error that I will show is if I want to write a bracket, I write the opening bracket and the closing one. And when I type the quotation mark, I type 2. And then I move the cursor and write the sentence. Because what could happen, I could write this name, and I could forget of writing that. So if I execute this, you get a syntax error that says that something is missing here. So you see here the arrow where it tells you, okay, here is something missing. Okay, so we add this, it works. Also, like when we define age, we can type twice, by mistake, the assignment, and it tells you that the syntax error invalid syntax. So this because tells you that okay, this is not let's say Python this doesn't exist in Python. So indicate again with the arrow. Oh, okay. So let's remove this, and then you get age. And the same with in case that you forget here This normally happens when you include a function inside a function. You can forget one of these brackets. So when you execute that, they tell you that okay, the end of the file or end of line, end of file has been reached, but there is something missing. This is like the interpreter that doesn't understand. Why? Because a bracket is missing here. So if I add the bracket, I get the result. You will find in the documentation that these are called syntax errors. There are other types of errors that are execution errors. That is, when you execute the program, you get the error, but the error is not like it's not a syntax one. Are two different errors: syntax errors and runtime errors. But anyway, both of them are errors. Oops! I see that this is like a break time. So we have now 15 minutes for the break. So that yeah. Thanks, Claire, for adding the timetable. So we have a morning break now at 11:30. Let's come back at 11:45. And if you have any questions, we can answer them when we are back. So have a nice morning break and see you in 15 minutes. Bye for now. Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope that had a nice, well, short 15-minute break, but hope that you had some energy with the coffee, tea, because this first part has been what like more introductory or more, yeah, more introduction. But now we will see how to use data frames, libraries, and also we will start seeing how to do some plotting. So yeah, that will require more attention, effort, but yeah, will be fine. Cool. Okay, so I will what I will do is I will share my screen again. Screen 2. Will take a few seconds to show the screen. So yeah, this is the screen. So next part is we will talk about libraries. This is another feature that makes Python very interesting to use. That is the large amount of libraries that are available. Software library is a set of functions and values that are included in a file that we call it a library, and most of them are standard. Other we can find them on internet, and are very useful because we don't need to redefine. For instance, before we have used the function round, or we have used the function max, how to get a maximum of several numbers or maximum of a list of numbers. For instance, these functions are already defined, so we don't need to refine them. In the case of plotting, or in the case of we'll see later data frames, we don't need to code these functions. These are already available. So I just said a few examples, but I remember in the past, a few years ago, I was working with a project with the medical data, and this there were like some data, some pictures that were saved in a format that is called DICOM, if I remember right. So that is, for instance, for that format, that is a library to handle these medical pictures for databases for for pictures, mention medical pictures, but could be any other type. So a library is quite a useful thing in Python, because there are many. Here we will see the first one that we will use is the library math. What should we do to use a library? We need to use the command, the keyword import, and then the name of the library, import math. So writing that, we can use this library called math. So we will see that we can use value that is saved in that library. So we can print the value of the pi number. P is. We need to type the name of the library, math, dot, and then type the variable that we want to use. This pi. If I execute this, the output is pi is, and you get this the definition of the the value of pi. Also, we can use a function. So to use a function, we can use the function cosine, that is math dot cost. And here the input, we can use the pi number. So if I execute this, the result, the output is minus 1. So as you see here, several examples to use either a value or to use a function. And the way is we need to import the library and then use the elements of the library. Before I explain that we can use a help for a function, but help also can be used with a library. So if we type help math, hit enter, we get, well, this is like a long, we get here all the functions. For instance, we have the tangent seal comp, we have a lot of functions here. And also we have this data defined. So we can use pi, we can use the e number, tau, infinite. So we have all of these values already defined and functions already defined. Two things regarding libraries. For instance, if you are interested in import the pi number, you can use from math import. You can import functions, or you can import values. So I want to import pi number. So I do that, and if I want to use it, if I want to print that number, rather than use math.pi, I don't need to do that. I can get rid of the name of the library. Why? Because I with this line I import that value. So if I execute this, you see that it works without using math.py. You can do the same with libraries, etc. It is possible, but it is not recommended to. You can import everything. You can, if you include here a star asterisk, you can import everything from that library. What is the issue that I see? That if you import everything and you start using these values and functions, you don't know if these values or functions come from the math library or come from other library. So my recommendation is to refrain using that. For instance, for the pi number, okay, you can import it, but my recommendation is like always use the name of the library and the name of the function or the value. There is a way that also is because we have done before like import math. Well, actually the name math is short, but you can also reduce or you can create an alias of that library. Import math as m. And then you can use a print m.py rather than the full name of the library. This is also, well, we'll see that this is used with the NumPy library. Normally you use import NumPy as np, or for the pandas library that we will see later, import pandas as pd. These are like ways in order to write less, but you can either use them. Some people don't recommend them because imagine that you see a fragment of the code and you see PD. Okay, PD is like a standard way of like shorten pandas, but it's not quite. For some people could be like a less readable, so it's up to you. But I'm showing you all of these options in case that you get a code that is not written by someone else, in order that yeah you can understand that code. And now that I have explained that, you will understand there is like a meme here that if you want to create some chaos, you can rename the libraries using TF is for TensorFlow, and they use they rename NumPy as a tensor. So, for instance, if you do this, you will make a chaos of it. So that's why I included that meme here. That is a copy from Reddit. Oops. Okay, here. Well, okay, I will delete this. I will execute this, and you can see that I can use m.py. Okay, so this is regarding libraries, and now we will start reading tabular data using into data frames. Data frames is a data structure that is widely used in Python, and also is very is efficient, and is quite useful when you have for instance, a matrix with some values. to index these values to get slices of that table, or well, I mentioned matrix, but yeah, that table, and do counting, minimum, maximum, etc. So for this, we will use the data that we have previously downloaded. We need to uncompress the data using well, Windows, Linux, and I guess Mac has ways to unzip easily unzip the file. But yeah, okay. So let's start, and here we will start using pandas. Pandas is another library that is quite useful to handle the data and to get statistical data like a maximum, minimum. You will see that is useful, and also you can do some plotting with pandas. Okay, so to use pandas, we need to write import pandas. Oops. Well, we will use we will follow the example of the documentation. We will use PD, and now we will create a variable called data. Data equal, and I will use a function of pandas that is PD dot read underscore CSV, because the table that we will import or we will read is written in comma separated values. If you open that file, I'm not sure if I can open it. Well, this is like a quite big. Yes. If I double click in the file, you see that it's a table. You see that we have the table contains a country, so it's Australia and New Zealand, and we have the GDP per capita of different years. So we have 52, 57, 62, up to 2007. Well, we don't have like a consecutive, so we have a depending on each. We have a few of them. So what we will do is we will read the data. Okay, when we open using this, shows like using a nice format. But if you open the file with a text editor, you will see the. Let me see if I can do it. Set data. I will. It's another. If you open with a text file, you will see that the table looks like this. So you see that these are comma separated values. You see here the name of the columns, country, GDP per capita, 1952. And the second line, you see the values. Sorry that the font is pretty small. And the third line, again, you see values of the. Okay, so let's open that file. So that file is in, if we are in desktop, well, let me remember, because I think I will, now, the difficult thing is here is to figure out where the data is. I mean, to figure out the path. I think there is a way. Okay. Also, this is one of the advantages of using Jupyter Lab. If I want to open that file, that is the last one, the Sania one, I can with right click and tell copy path. And here I can paste the path. Is the that's Control V would be Control V. So this is the path where the file is. That is in desktop, data, and Gapminder. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if that will work or not, but we will see. And then we can do print data. Let's execute it. And exactly, doesn't work. And again, well, you see like here a huge error. But what we are interested is in this part. So we see a file not found error. So, okay, so the path is not the right one. And you see what I have mentioned before. When you have a longer file, tells you the line that is failing. So tells you that this line is the one that fails. It fails because I think in Windows is a double backslash. Let me try that. Doesn't work either. Because I think I'm in desktop, so I think this is the path. Okay. What is the problem here? That the Jupyter notebook that is inside this Jupyter Lab environment is here in desktop. So if I want to access the folder data, I need to type data. If I type desktop, that is not a folder called desktop inside the folder desktop. So it's a little bit at the beginning. It's a little bit tricky to give the path. And here we are using a relative path. Is called relative path. Is from the folder that is like related to the folder where your script or your notebook is. You can use the full path that is like from you use Windows from C, like C users Juan, etc. But if you use in Mac, I'm not sure, but for Linux, for instance, is /home / your username / documents, etc. So did everyone open this file? Also, okay, so I see there are some, there is an issue that, okay, the file is not, could not open. So also depending of the operating system that, not sure if you're using Windows, Linux, Mac, it takes some time to find the right path. I'm not sure if Windows, let me try if that works. Okay, also works with the, because I see that in some Windows installations, or sometimes you need to use double backslash rather than backslash. So if yeah, I see that there are two issues that to find the right path. Alejandra, when you have done that, please let us know, or maybe Michael could help you. And there is another comment that with import pandas, that it could happen, okay, if in my case that I install Anaconda in Windows, you needed to install the pandas library. I think you can do it if you are in the in the if you use a Python prompt, I think you can do pip install pandas. I'm not sure if that work. Okay, I see that. Also, it could happen that you have the Jupyter notebook open somewhere that and your you don't have a folder called data. Well, this folder is I imagine that you have a uncompressed this installer somewhere. There is a way to see in which in your in Jupyter notebook you can type the percentage symbol PWT. If you execute that, it tells you where the notebook is. So in my case, the notebook is in C, users, my username, desktop. So my advice is to move the data folder inside the desktop, and after that you will see that folder here in the menu that is on the right. I mean, you need to move the data folder inside the directory that is the output of PWD.
Hi Juan, I'm Alejandra. I have
Yes.
already done that, but it does not work. I have extracted the files in that folder, but I see the folder data, but it's empty. I mean, but files are there. But when I see in the
Oh,
Jupyter notebook, I cannot see them. But when I go in my to that path in my computer, the files are there. It's like Jupyter is
but
not.
okay. So if you execute this line, it works. The line that
No,
they have.
no.
Oh,
Well,
so
maybe I can follow the class without this, but
yeah, maybe we can.
I don't know what's happening.
What we can do is maybe we can create a breakout room, and you can see this. You can share your screen and solve this issue with the Michael. If that.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, I
Okay,
will.
yeah. Okay, thank you, Juan.
Yeah, no problem. That's that's things of this is uh, happens. So let me create one moment. Or Michael, could you create a breakout session and help Alejandra with this, please? Okay, so I create the breakout rooms. I think I think not sure if maybe Michael is having some issue with the internet, so you can move to, for instance, group one. You can share the screen and solve the issue. Sorry about that. Anyway, I will okay. I will continue with this. Or if in case that you are just like follow the lesson and later in during the lunch break we can have a look and see how we can solve it. Okay, so what I have done here is I import the pandas library and use the function read CSV, and also I can print the data. Also, if I just type the data, shows you in a better format. Tells you like the number of the row and also the all of these columns. Here, you see instead that we can use a country as an index of the column. So the way that we can use it is in when we read the data, we need to type PID read CSV, and in brackets we say the path, but also if you press tab, you will see here all of the available files, so you can choose. In our case, we were using Oceania. The second one is an index, or the parameter that was previously not defined, index underscore call equal country. So I execute that, and when I execute the data, you see that now country is the index of the column that is, and here you have these values. Okay, so what else? Also, we have data itself is a variable that contains the that table, but also related to that variable, or related, you have some methods or some functions that are together with that variable. So what that means, we can write the data dot and info. So this is a function, a method that is included in that variable, that well, in this case is in that object. So if we execute that, we get some info about that variable. So we get that the class is not integer, is not float, is like more complex. So it's a pandas core frame data frame, and also tells you that we have 2 entries in the index. So we have Australia and New Zealand, and also we have it tells you the columns that we have a type of the columns that is floating 64 bits. And also the memory that is using 208 bytes of memory. Also another variable or another data that we can obtain from the data frame is the columns that we have. So if execute this, we see that we have all of these columns in our data frame. Before I was printing the data frame like this, but we can also print the transpose of that data frame. That because maybe is more readable. We'll see. Data dot capital T. Well, yeah, in this case it's more readable. We see the country here, and we see that, okay, for Australia we have these values, and for New Zealand we have all of these values. Another new, another feature of pandas, and this why is that powerful. There is a function that is called describe. So it's a data dot describe. If you execute that function, you get a table. As you may notice that in the documentation they use print, but because we are using Jupyter Notebook, we don't. In a lot of cases, is not needed. Print is more needed when you use a Python. When you use a Python script, I mean, when you use a file that you execute it in ARCHER2 or in another machine. But for Jupyter notebooks or for Jupyter Lab notebooks, you can use sometimes you can see the output without printing it. So, okay, in this case that the count is only 2, maybe doesn't make too much sense. Normally, if the count is larger, okay, you can get a better average standard variation, the minimum, the maximum, the percentage you get for each column, you get all of these statistics. So what we will do, okay, we will do a small exercise that is I will write the exercise here as a comment. So what we will do is we have open the file that is called Oceania, but we want to open the file that is called Gapminder GDP Americas. So same, please open that file and play around with the functions that it has, the describe, t, columns, info, etc. So I'll give you 5 minutes to do this, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. So please. Okay, I see there is a grant, so I think we can do it together. I see that there is an error that is data America columns. Index object is not. Okay. It depends. Chris, try to use. Oh, no. Okay. I know what the error is. Because columns is not a function, it's a value. So you need to execute this without the, if you add brackets, means that you are calling a function that doesn't exist. And this is the type error that the object, you cannot call that object. That means you cannot call that function because it's not a function, it's an object. If that makes sense. So what I will do is, okay, I will another error. Let me check.
Juan, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, no,
Oh,
yes.
that's great. Oh, that's the error. It's a file not found error, just in case it's.
Yeah, so it seems that the way of solving it is again like try to find out where you are. Like write this could be with the PWD. percentage symbol PWD, and your folder data should be inside that path. And once that your folder is there, you will have access to that.
Is it possible to do a file listing in Jupyter Lab? Like you can use a kind of an ampersand symbol that you use there.
Which?
So I just, because you did ampersand pwd.
Yes.
Can you put any Linux
ls.
command after that? Yeah. So
yes.
So you see that presumably if Martina does the same thing, she won't see a data folder. She won't see a data folder returned in that output.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the way first like to copy that folder inside this. So yeah, this is another way of you can use ls data, and you will get a list of files that you have inside the data. Yeah, cool. So yeah, we are pretty well on the same page. No problem. Also, please speak up in case that you have any issues, because we are a small group and we are in order to help you and solve the issues, it's not a problem at all, and that's why also Michael is here, that in case that you need further hardware, there are breakout rooms that both of you can go and work with the issue.
I take it that everyone's been able to import pandas. I think one of the attendees has left. Not only just Claire, but also Mohammed left. And I think he was saying he had problems.
Yeah, could happen that in my case, okay, was easier that I have installed pandas and it works, but sometimes it's a little bit frustrating that you try to import a library that is not available.
Does it depend on? I just wonder if it depends on the version of pandas. That the one I have is version 1.4.1, and I don't know if other users can confirm which version they have. They should be able to just do a pip list. But I know that Claire had a very old version, and it was like, so I don't know if that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Although the input should work. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, because I installed that tool this week, so yeah, I got like the latest version of everything. Actually, yeah, this laptop is new. I didn't have but yeah, I remember teaching this course previous times that could be an issue when you have an older version. But yeah, there is a way of updating these versions. So yeah, we can have a look at that later. Okay, so to solve this exercise, well, it's like rather than using Oceania, using use the Americas. So we will start again from from scratch. So I can repeat, but it's not needed because I have done it before. Import pandas as a PD, just following the sample that is in the documentation. And what I will do is I will define a new variable that is called data Americas equal PD dot read. In case that, for instance, you don't remember which was the function, you can press a tab and you get the functions that are available in that. So what I want to use is read the CSV. And inside the brackets, I introduce the path that is a data and the name that I will, laziness, I will copy and paste. And also what I will do is previously we specify index call equal was country. I don't remember. I will try and see if that works. And then I use the data Americas. Okay, so if I use that, I get this output, and then what I can do is I can do I can do the transpose, for instance, of this Americas.t. I can show the columns. I will do everything on the same. What else? Also, we can use data Americans. Oh. Describe. What's info as well? Data Americans. Oops. So regarding pandas, this is what we have done. We have like a read the CSV file. We can do the transpose, see the columns, and also execute these two functions with info and describe. So if I execute this, okay, because I think it's okay. So that's the problem, that when you execute several commands in the same cell, you need to use a print. Otherwise, it will not show. That's why in the documentation they use a print. So here I have the data frame. Well, so because okay, we'll use it. I will go like a better step by step. Otherwise, it will be. Okay, so this is the data frame. So if I do dot capital T, I transpose, and I have like a columns with the names of the countries and the GDP. I can do also the to see the columns. See that we have a continent and all of the years that 1952, 1992, 2007. I can use the function info that tells me that we have 25 countries in this case. We have from Argentina to Venezuela, and there are 13 columns. So we have 12 years, and also we have the continent. And in this case, the continent is always the same. So well, the memory usage, because this is bigger, is 3.3 kilobytes. Before was only bytes. And data Americas, you can use the describe. And for each year, you can get the, for instance, here the count is bigger, is 25. So here kind of makes more sense, or you have like more data to analyze. So you have the average value, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, and the percentage of for each year. Also, we have seen the how to read a CSV file, but it's also possible to save it. To save the CSV file, you need to for instance, if I want, in this case we haven't done any modification, but in case that we wanted to do a modification and we want to save it, you can do data Americas dot to CSV. And here you need to specify the name of the file that could be processes.csv, and then you save the file. Let's save it, and you can find on the left that there is a new file that is called processes.csv that was modified seconds ago. So this is in case that you do some modifications on the table and you get this, you can save the changes. So any questions so far? If not, let's continue. We have seen, we have talked about data frames and how this like a fancy output of, let me show you the, well, okay, I think it's easier if I do so you have, yeah, this table. But what if I want to just select part of the table? We have seen that for strings or for a list it's possible, and also it's possible for this for a data frame. So just to follow the documentation, now we will load another file that this is called. We will load the file Europe. So the way of loading it, we will following the, we will reuse the variable called data and do a pd read CSV underscore CSV and the name of the file. That is data, well, the path, that is data slash kappa minder. We will use Europe. And also we will specify the index column is equal country. So we have that file. I can print the file. And what if I want to get the first, well, we see the countries. So for Albania, I want to get the GDP per capita from 1954. So I see that it is in the first column and also in the first row. So to get that specific number, what I can do is I can get it in two different ways. One way is data dot index location, so it's iloc, and with the square brackets I need to specify row and column. So I want from Albania, that is the position 0, the first one, and also I want from 1952. That also, if I check the table, is the first position as well. So I write 0. If I execute that, you see that the output is 1601 dot etc. That is the same as this one. This is one way if we know the index of, if we know the position. But what if I want to, and that's one of the features of data frames. If I want that location and I know the numbers, not the numbers, sorry, the names, you can also use the names. In that case, I use data.log location. I get rid of the I location, and I want Albania, and also I want the GDP per cap underscore 1952. So if I execute that, I get again, I get the same number. So here we see two ways of indexing the table, using the index or using the names of the before we have seen that we can get slices of the table. Rather than a number, we get a part of that table that is called a slice. So how we can do that? Imagine that for Albania, I want the GDP of all years. So easy. So I type data, location, square brackets, Albania, and here I write a column. So I get a small slice with all the years and all the values related to these years. Also, imagine I can specify I want like from I want this part from Ireland to Poland. So I can specify that as well. So I can say data.log for brackets, Italy, Poland, and I will get, okay, I will get, in this case, I will get everything. So you see that I have from Italy to Poland, I have data slice, and I have everything. Okay, I don't want the last two, so I can, or I want to, okay, I want the first four. So, okay, I can copy in this case here. I want until 72, for instance. And I can get this table. Another feature that is interesting because the output of this is the slice that you get is another data frame, another pandas data frame. So to that you can also perform operations. So in this slice, if you want to get the maximum, you can type .max. And well, don't forget the brackets, because that means that is a function. So if you execute that, you get for each year, you get the maximum of the maximum GDP. You can get the minimum, etc. using a function, because of what it returns is a data frame itself. What I will do is we will save that in a in a variable that is called, well, I will call it a subset equal that. So now, well, I don't get, you see that the output is removed because let's say the output, the data is saved in that variable. And another feature that makes this like pandas data phrase useful is that I can print. I will print a subset. So I get like in printer format this. You see that here this is like a backslash because that means that there is not, well, in this case there is space, but the column here that should be here is a print here. This is like when you have a large table. What we will do is, okay, we will reduce, we will make until 62 to make it. So we have this table, but also I have a question, and it's okay. What values are larger than the 10,000? So I can do that quite well in a easy way. The easy way is I can do print subset greater than 10,000. If I execute that, the output that I get is for the GDP in 1952, the only value that is larger than 10,000 is Norway. We see in 57 is Norway and the Netherlands, and in the 62 is the same, the Netherlands and Norway. Also, that's the feature of Python. To do this in another programming language will take much more time, but here with one line you can get this output. In the documentation is also explained that we can use a mask because okay, here we use a subset equal and greater than 10,000, and we get that output. But in case that we want to get no, well, we will get using a mask, not a number. I will show you, and I will explain later what that means. Okay, let's create a mask. Mask is equal what we have written before, subset larger than 10,000. So I save that, and now if I print the mask, we'll see what is. So we have the previous thing. We have like a false, true, etc. So we have a data frame that contains a false and true. We can use. I have said before that subset. If we use a square brackets, we can get the slices, or we can get another slice of this slice or specific positions. But also we can get we can use a mask. A mask means if the value is true, is shown. If not, is shows a none. That means not a number. So let's execute this. And this is the output that I get. If the value that is in the mask is true, prints the value, or if not, get not a number. okay, what is the advantage, or why I want to have a not a number rather than true false? When we use functions like maximum, minimum, average, etc., these not numbers are not considered. So, for instance, if I execute I will execute the maximum of a subset mask max, execute that. Well, in case maximum doesn't, because we are, let's say, the minimum. I get for this column, for 1952, I get this value. For 67, I get the minimum, that is this one. For 62, I get the minimum again, that is, in this case, the minimum is given by the Netherlands. So this is why in this case, we can use a mask. Is there any questions so far? What we have seen here is just like a very introductory way of using pandas. This library or this data frame have many other options, but this is like a, let's say, aperitif of what we can do with the pandas library. What we will see after lunch is how to print, how to plot, either using pandas or just using lists. And also, well, we will see another part of we will see like more features of Python. So that's a good question that we haven't covered. Imagine that, okay, I mentioned before that I'm not sure. Give me a moment. Into this is to extract, but I think let me can do data. No, it's not that. Yes, you can do it's like to replace it's like a more thought that would be like easier, but it's more trick to because there are other types that are called for a data frame that is not a pandas data frame. You can do the indexing like this, so you can do data 0,0 and you can assign the value. But for pandas, you need to. Sorry, I'm talking about that because there was a question on the chat that said that how can we change the value? Please, Michael.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with the pandas object that's returned, when you read the data file, is that essentially a tuple? It's not a list, so as it's a tuple, it's not mutable. It can't be changed. Is that the issue that you're having here?
Yeah, the thing is exactly that it's like a pandas. The type is a pandas data frame, and I think you need to use a function called replace.
Okay, so you can.
So it's like it's trickier than let's say using a normal other types of data frames, so you can change or well, depends on the but because here we see that this is a pandas data frame. Also, in case of doubt, you type data and you get that this is a pandas data frame. In this case,
you can do a help on
tricky.
there. Can you do a help to see what functions are available or what methods you can call?
Yes.
So the replace might be listed in here.
So this is constructed. I think you're right that this is like a more defined to like a.
Can you do Control F to search through it? Oh.
But you can do addition. Control F. Yes.
Yeah, and then just replace.
Oh, I replace missing values.
There's quite a few occurrences.
Okay, there are.
Or you can fill.
I'll replace the first noun element. I don't know what this is like a limit. Yeah, since that this is like a more to like a to work with. Yeah, you can replace the missing values. Oh, here is the. Oh well, so I think it's possible to use a log. So before that, we have used a moment. Not sure if that will work. Okay, it's much easier that. So this is if in case that you want to replace an element, you can do that. You say the position, that is Albania, the first column, and you say, okay, the element that is an error, I want that element that is 2000. And when you print the data, you see that it has been modified. I thought that this was only for like showing the location rather than. So yeah, this is the way of modifying the. There are more complex ways that, for instance, when you read, because in this case we have data for everything, but there are other ways that is you can replace values that are like larger than a certain type, or for instance, if you find a typo, Imagine that, for instance, France is repeated many times and there is a typo, you can replace all of these values using the function replace. But for specific ones, you can just select the indices rather than using the index of the names. Okay, so I see that it's a few minutes past 1, so now is a break, lunch break. So we will have some rest. We'll be back at 2 p.m. So at 2 p.m. we'll be back and we will start with plotting. And also, in the case that you have any questions, we can answer them later. So thanks and have a nice break. Speak to you soon.